Hello and welcome to the Giants Backlog. Thanks for joining us on our maiden voyage of our podcast. You know, my friends and I got together and we have this ever-growing list of backlogs, and we decided might as well turn it into a podcast, make it a game club, and play through it together. So I'm joined by my friend Paul.
Hey everybody, it's me, Paul. Avid gamer, giant, massive backlog.
Right on. And my other friend John.
Hey, what's up? Smaller backlog.
And I'm Jay. So the game we chose to be our first game to play through was BioShock 2 and the Minerva's Den DLC. Each week every episode we'll be picking a game to play through. And so if you haven't played through BioShock 2 yet, go ahead and pause the podcast and go play it, because there will be a lot of spoilers here. If you don't care about spoilers, then welcome aboard. But if you want to play it and follow along, feel free to do that as well.
Alright, now we're gonna bullshit for 20 minutes.
Yeah, so John, did you watch the fight last night?
No, but I looked it up and he got killed in like a minute. Damn it.
But he looked terrible.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what they said.
I couldn't believe it when I was watching. I'm like, wait, that's Ben Askren?
Like, you're supposed to be a professional fighter. What the hell?
Yeah, it was just a payday for him. He didn't look like he prepared at all.
No.
This is going to be a part of the podcast, and people are watching this in the future. You might want to tell them what fight you're talking about.
We're talking about the famous Jake Paul YouTuber. All of our 10-year-olds in the audience will know him. He fought Ben Askren, a former UFC champion.
Really funny about this is that John was bragging to us
I
about
was laughing my
how
ass
he
off.
saw the odds were favored for Jake Paul, and how it's going to be an easy payday.
Yeah, I put money on Askren. You got first round not KO'd.
In the first
That's
minute.
not good. Yeah.
It was worse
Honestly,
than the Nick Robinson fight.
I looked it up today and I saw that happened, and I was kind of hoping that no one would bring it up.
Oh, I was on that shit. I saw
First
that at
thing
8
Paul
a.m.
brought up when he came over this morning,
Yeah.
the fight.
What were you doing over Jay's, Paul?
I just went to get coffee and see Chris.
Oh, am I not allowed to get coffee and see Chris?
You were asleep.
Yeah, it was early.
That's a good point. But I could have woken up. See, I'm adding drama to the podcast.
Well,
I could have woken up.
we played a couple games of Smash with Paul, but after Paul left, we played that rhythm game on the Mario Party.
Yeah, that's a good game.
And you know how you win every single time, John?
Yeah.
Chris won every single time, so it might just be that Emily and I are really, really
bad.
We have no rhythm.
That's a fun game. I enjoy that one. Although I could see how it would get old pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, so you guys want to get into it?
Yeah, we should probably get into it.
So I think we should start it off with our hot takes about the game. I can start. My hot take is I think that BioShock 2 is the best of the series. I liked it more than 1 and Infinite. You got a hot take, John?
Yeah, my hot take is I miss when video games, especially story-based video games like BioShock 2, I miss when they were linear. I loved having the arrow and just following the arrow around and it forcing the action on me and me never getting lost. I miss that. I really, really miss not like every minute of the game feeling like you're getting a minute of progression.
That's interesting. I put down a note to specifically ask you what you thought of the giant fucking arrow.
Love
at
the
top of
giant
your
arrow.
screen,
Love
saying,
it.
"Go this way" to
Fucking love
progress
it.
the story.
And not only does it doesn't Eagle's view point you to where you have to go. It literally, like, if you walk past the stairs you have to go up, it doesn't, and like the room you have to go to is still further the same direction. The arrow turns around and says, "Nah, you're supposed to go up the stairs." Like, it just gently guides you all the way to where you're supposed to go. And honestly, with how today's games are, it was nice to not get lost for an entire story.
Yeah, that's fair.
Spent an hour doing nothing. Didn't have to worry about that.
Paul, what's your hot take?
My hot take is that the story wasn't as good as 1 or 3.
It's a direct opposition to my hot take.
Very similar to 1, just not as grand.
I hear that. Okay, so let's go into the story beats. So the game starts out, and it's New Year's Eve, 1958, which is something maybe they said, but I didn't realize it when I started the game, or I forgot about it. But when I looked up the synopsis, I guess I didn't realize that it was New Year's Eve, and I don't know what the significance is of that. But anyway, you're a big daddy, and you have a little sister, and Sophia Lamb separates you and forces you to shoot yourself, and you, the character, is Delta. So what are you guys thinking when that happens?
My first note is the opening scene is sick. I thought it was cool. I mean, I never played 1 or 3, or until this 2. So this is my only experience with BioShock, pretty standalone. But knowing nothing about the Rapture, knowing nothing about the story, and just seeing the opening scene, I thought it was a cool opening scene, and I was interested on where it would go.
Yeah, it gave me flashbacks to the first game with Andrew Ryan, the whole "a slave chooses, a man obeys" when you murder him with a golf club.
Hey,
Against
I
your
might
will.
play BioShock 1.
That's
Spoiler alert.
That's a good point, Paul. And I didn't draw that parallel there, but because it's been probably, I don't know, let's say over a decade since I played BioShock 1. Last I played it was high school. And I played through it with a friend, and man, like, the whole illusion of free will was definitely an underlying theme in that game. And I didn't really draw the connection to that. I was wondering, why is he shooting himself? Like, what power does she have? But guess I forgot. In the first game lays the groundwork for that. So that, I guess in hindsight, plays out a lot better than my first blush take at it. So anyway, 10 years later, we wake up and we got this guy talking to us in an audio log, saying that we need to find Eleanor or we will die due to our pair bond. And I don't know if they ever reinforced why. At least I can't remember. What do you guys think about that?
It's part of the genetic modification of Big Daddies. When they turn people into Big Daddies, they make it so they
Bond it to one little sister?
Yeah, they bond them with a little sister, and they'll die if they're separated from them. There's actually a lot of audio logs later in the game that kind of talk about that whole process when you're in the Fontaine Futuristics lab.
Let's do a little tangent here. What do you guys think about the everybody in the city records their own monologues and leaves them randomly laying all over the place?
I love
I
that.
guess
I'm gonna start
Yeah.
doing that in my daily life.
I watched this YouTube video by this guy named Leo Vader, and he's a Game Informer, or he used to be a Game Informer employee, and he talks about inner monologues, and he was trying to record one himself, and he says, I feel like what I'm recording is more of a reaction to my inner monologue rather than my inner monologue itself. And that's something that like stuck in my head through this whole game is, are we just hearing these people's thoughts, or is it, I guess I'm having trouble finding the words to describe it, is it audio log they actually sat down and was like, this is of importance, I want to record this?
Yeah, I thought it was a design thing. It just kind of took the place of finding a book and having to read a bunch of words on a screen like in a diary. 2K just decided to have voice actors record, and you can listen to it while you're walking around. I actually really liked it compared to picking up a bunch of books and having to spend like 30 seconds reading.
Yeah, and I liked how in most of the sections where you do pick up the audio logs, you weren't really bothered. Like, they spaced out where the enemies were, so when you're listening to that audio log, most of the time, you're not being bothered while you're listening to it, while you're walking to the next section. So I thought it was laid out well, too. I really liked it. I thought, because it's like what you're saying, Paul, like, going and finding artifacts or finding books or pages and having to read all that stuff. I never read that stuff.
Yeah.
But an audio log, like, super easy, very convenient, and most of them, for the most part, actually said something that benefited the story. So I liked them. But again, what you said at the beginning, Jay, how do you feel about them just being these inner monologues that are laying all over the city? It's like, never thought about it that way. Like, why are they just laying about all over the city? But
Right. That's
just
that was my point. Really, was as a game design concept, it's awesome. It's great. I never take the time to sit there and read some shitty document, right?
Mm-hmm.
But from a like immersion world building standpoint, it kind of pulled me out of it, because I'd be like, okay, why is this lady recording herself right now? And why did she just leave it here in this random bookshelf for me, or hiding behind or under this frozen ice block for me to find 10 years later? But I mean, in terms of progressing the story, I agree they were great, but in terms of staying like grounded in like reality, it kind of pulled me out a bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
So for the beginning section of the story, you're in a level, right? And I don't remember what do you do at the very beginning of the game?
I feel like we should just back up for a second. So,
shoot.
The game starts, you're in Rapture, this massive metropolis at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. And as Jay said, you're walking around with a giant drill for an arm with a little sister, and you're attacked. All of a sudden, Sophia Lim comes up, and you're forced to shoot yourself in the head.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess if you aren't familiar with the BioShock series, you don't know what Rapture is, and what a Big Daddy is, and what a little sister is. And it's kind of hard to explain without going into great detail and spoiling BioShock 1.
Yeah, I
But
guess all I really wanted to say was you're back in Rapture, an underground
yeah,
city.
underwater. Yeah, and let's talk about the setting for a minute here. In every BioShock, or I guess BioShock 1 and 2, I had kind of a love-hate relationship with Rapture, where I really liked that it's this awesome setting, underwater city that's in ruin and has gone to shit, and everybody's using drugs, and it's just a prime example of a dystopia, right? Or a utopia gone wrong.
Yeah.
And I really like that, but in the actual games themselves, you never get to see the whole big city. You're very cornered off into specific buildings, rooms. For example, every time you descend into Rapture, you see thousands of skyscrapers, and there's never a level where you're actually in a skyscraper in this huge setting. It's always tunnel, room, section of rooms, and the other point I wanted to bring up about the setting is it's very oppressive, and I think they did a really good job of making the setting and the environment itself a character, where no other game is it just constantly in your face, like the environment and the surroundings. And I mentioned this to Paul before, but it reminds me of the Alien movies, where you're kind of isolated, and it's kind of in space. Nobody can hear your screams. It's kind of like that, because you're at the bottom of the ocean. It's might as well be outer space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of narrow
What
corridors.
do you guys think of Rapture?
There was, at the very beginning, there was a section or a moment where you first step out and you look over the entire city. And for me, a person who hasn't played BioShock at all, it was like a powerful moment seeing the scope of the city. So I have it in my notes as like it's a really cool view of the full thing. But I do see what you're saying as playing through the full game, the city or the environments that you're in are much more enclosed than that view gives you.
That's a design choice. Going back to your hot take, they decided to section you off to make it a more linear experience, which has pros and cons. But with a setting such as Rapture, I think they could do something very cool just with that city.
The next game is going to be open world.
Yeah, I saw that.
They're making another BioShock?
Yeah, 2K is. I don't know who's
wow.
actually making it.
Cool.
Yeah, so I guess we'll be able to compare, if that brings something to BioShock that was needed or not.
And I'm not necessarily asking for it to be open world. I'm just asking, there's this huge...
It's 2021. It's open world.
I'm just saying there's this huge city, and in the only 2 games we've had in Rapture, they've only explored a small section of it, which I guess leaves room for expansion.
Technically,
Definitely.
you did ride the train through like many areas of the city. We don't know. We could have been through the whole city.
That's true.
Just not in any of the buildings.
Right, exactly.
So, okay, so going back to the plot now, it opens up, you shoot yourself in the head, you wake up 10 years later, you don't know what's going on, and these people start talking to you. And I believe the first section, you're just trying to get to Sinclair, right?
Tenenbaum.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you guys think about the first section of the game?
Yeah, so the first section, you're in this luxury resort, It's like a spa for the rich of Rapture. And there's all kinds of intricate, like, Greek architecture. It's beautiful. There's a pool, and there's a bunch of audio logs that you can find from the employees at the resort. And you get the impression that there's a bit of like a class mismatch in Rapture. There's all of the elite people, the scientists, the artists who Andrew Ryan has brought to Rapture to kind of build his utopia. And then there's the 90% who are working in these luxury resorts, and they're not very happy. And that ends up leading to the downfall of society.
John?
If I'm going to be completely honest, I don't remember too much from the first section of the game. So
Where I was too is all the sections prior to this first section were extremely memorable to me, except for the first one. And I think the reason for that is each of the other section has a main bad guy that you're trying to get to, right? And that has made the subsequent sections stand out more to me than the first section, though I understand the first section has to do that world building, and that they've got it's so-called eat your vegetables before you get to the good part. And so I thought the first section was serviceable, and you learn the mechanics, and it was at that point. And full disclosure, I tried playing this game prior, and I bounced off of it in this first section because I just couldn't power through it because I didn't have any incentive to. There was no goal I was working towards really that stood out to me. Now, once I got into the second section, which we'll talk about, it was off to the races there. I couldn't stop playing BioShock 2. So let's talk about the next section. So you meet up with Sinclair, you get on the train, right? I'm remembering this right?
Yep.
And you head to Popper's Drop. So, John, you want to talk about Popper's Drop at all?
Yeah, I'll start it off. I remember Popper's Drop pretty vividly because it was just such a more exciting area than the first area. I remember getting there and there being many levels to it, a lot more enemies. I think they introduced the big brute guys in Popper's Drop.
Yep.
So it was a much more exciting section for me, and I agree with you. Once you got into there, the game really took off and became a lot more fun to play.
Did they have
was the amusement park in Popper's Drop?
It was before. I was just gonna side note real quick. It's technically a different level, the amusement park. That's where you meet up with Sinclair, but it's really just like tutorial still.
Yep.
Popper's Drop is like the first main area, I guess.
Another side note. I did the entire amusement park and was about to leave with Sinclair and my game crashed and I had to redo the entire thing again. That was annoying.
Yeah.
That one made me want to losing like an hour and a half is rough.
If we want to talk about game crashing. That same section, and I will concede that the amusement park, very cool to go through, and it was more world building with their culture and politics down in Rapture, where the amusement park, you could go by, click on buttons, and they would have a little scene play out. I thought that was really cool. And it was cool to see it all run down and broken in by splicers and just the environment, right? That, again, hearkening back to the environment being a constant character and presence in the story. But yeah, I was playing through this section, and I intended on going, full good this playthrough, and so I saved all the little sisters. And so when you go up, you can take down a big daddy and adopt their little sister, and it's a mechanic to help you get Atom, which is a currency you can spend on power-ups, right? And you get less Atom if you save the little sisters. You get more Atom if you harvest them and kill them. And so I played through this section, hour and a half. I'm forgetting to save because most games have autosaves. and my game crashes, and I lost my entire session. So I'm back an hour and a half. So then I go and I play through it again forgetting to save because I'm not in the habit. And I accidentally clicked the wrong button and harvest a little sister. So then I lose my another hour of progress. And at this point, I'm texting these guys like, man, this is gonna be a chore to play through this a third time. But I will say after this section, I didn't experience any big crashes or bugs for the most part. But yeah, good point, Paul. I did glaze over the amusement park, but that was a good section, I think. Especially if you only play through it once.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
okay,
I agree.
back on to
amusement park. First time I played through it, good. Second time I played through it, I was rushing. I was trying to get through.
Well, and I was trying to get all the audio logs too, so like I backtracked through, tried to find all the ones I found the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So back onto Popper's drop. So you get there with Sinclair, and you're trying to get to this lady, Popper, right? What's her name?
Holloway. Grace Holloway.
Grace Holloway. You're trying to get to her. Sinclair is telling you that, she's in league with Sophia Lamb, who's the lady who made you shoot yourself to begin with. So the game is trying to push you towards, this is a bad person. They're trying to hurt us. This is, we need to take her out. And what were we retrieving from her office? Do you guys remember?
You needed an override key so that you could get the train going again. I think that's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what did you guys think of fighting your way through? It was like a hotel up to get to her room.
So, for me, a lot of the game... So, this is another thing where the linearness of the game I liked was... linearity of the game. The amount of combat and the amount of action that you experience was forced, You couldn't have too little or too much. You had the amount of combat that they intended you to have, because every time there was a group of enemies, you were walking into that group of enemies and there was nowhere else to go. So I liked that. I did feel like throughout the game, the amount of enemies or at the difficulty of taking out the amount of enemies was low. I kind of felt like it was a pretty easy game. I played it on hard. I only died 3 or 4 times throughout the entire playthrough. And I liked the feel of the hotel. Like we talked about it before. We didn't play through any high rises, but I guess the hotel was the closest thing we had to it, where it was maybe 4 levels high going up. But still, with the whole game, I felt like every section of enemies that you faced, you were finally getting into a situation where you're like, oh shit, this is getting difficult, and then there's no more enemies. It's like, well, this didn't even get hard yet. why are the enemies all dead? There should be 4 or 5 more. That's how I felt about most of the enemy sections, most of the fight sections throughout the game.
Well, let's talk about this for a second then. You bring up the difficulty of the game and the linearity of it. There's these optional things you can do, which I alluded to earlier, where you take down these big daddies that are walking around and you take their little sister, right? Mm-hmm. And these are completely optional. You don't have to interact with that at all. You go through with less resources, but you don't have to. take down the big daddies. Did you guys do all those, or did you let some pass by?
I did not. I let some pass. I probably killed 2/3 of them.
Oh,
I had this feeling like I'm a big daddy, they're a big daddy. If I don't need their resources, why should I kill them? They're not hurting me, you know?
yeah, I hear that. But John, when you take down the 3 big daddies in each area, then the big sister comes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those, I thought, in general, were more difficult than most of the other fights in the game until late game. Late game, they were cakewalk.
Big sisters in the earlier rounds, and it wasn't just every time you took down all 3. It was every three big daddy, or every 3 little sisters you freed or harvested. So like if I did 2 per round, then I was fighting a big sister every other area.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I agree. Those were the only hard fights in the whole game.
Yeah. And so, Paul, did you save or harvest the sisters?
Oh, I saved all of them. Too adorable.
Did you? Okay. So, John, did you save or harvest them?
Oh yeah, there's two adore. I harvested every single one.
So,
and I think that's what gave me the confidence to not need to kill all the big daddies. I was like flush with Adam.
Well,
we're just going.
Here's the thing: is I saved them all, and I never felt like I was short on Adam. Like I got all the things I wanted, and I was good. And even like the health upgrades and the Eve upgrades, like I didn't even want those because it was too easy of a game. I played on normal, but to me, it was like, I did them all because I wanted the achievement.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like I could play through the game just as easily without doing them all.
Yeah, like that's the thing. I'm playing on PC and no one cares about Steam achievements, so I took out like 2 of the 3 big daddies every level, and I was like, I probably have more Adam than if I would have saved the little sister on all 3. So I'm moving on.
I don't actually think it's that much of a difference between saving and harvesting, because for every 5 little sisters you save, they leave you a gift which has a bunch of Adam.
Yeah, so I was going to bring that up as something, John, you probably don't know about because you harvest them all, is they leave you a little gift that's like a teddy bear, and you get Adam and some special ammo out of it.
And some, what are they called? Gene tonics.
Mm-hmm.
So it like speeds up the rate that they gather Adam.
Yeah,
Interesting.
That one's called like Proud Parent.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how you played through the whole game and didn't even know that was. And I like how games do that, where you make decisions and your decisions matter and have outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, back to Popper's drop. You're fighting up to this lady. I think we get the spear gun here. What do you guys think about the spear gun?
Worthless. Useless. Dumb.
Yeah.
I only used it if I was out of ammo on other guns that I liked.
I thought it was a completely irrelevant gun, right? But if you walked into a room and there were splicers there that didn't know you were there yet, you could take them out in one hit with a headshot with the spear gun, which I did like.
Oh, I did use the explosive harpoons on a big sister once, and I put 5 of them into them, and she got shredded by that. So that was actually good.
There was a...
you get the camera on Popper's Den, too.
Yeah, you did.
So what do you guys think of the camera?
I liked it.
So I was talking to Paul after we both played through the game. I didn't know you could research things more than once. I researched everything one time and never brought that thing back out. And he's like, you keep getting benefits if you keep researching them. I'm like, that's so dumb.
I think there's 4 levels for each enemy type.
Yeah, you can max out the research. I didn't really like it, and the reason I didn't like it is because it became this mandatory thing that before I shoot something, I have to switch to my camera, take the recording, switch back to my other gun, switch to 5 different guns to get the highest rating of research. And it just seemed like an extra unnecessary step where it just kind of got annoying. And I was trying to go for all the achievements. We should mention, Paul and I played this on Xbox Series X. John played it on his PC. So I was going for the Xbox achievement for maxing out the research on everybody. But just like you, John, I didn't realize you could research more than once until I looked at the achievements and I saw max out research on everybody. And by that point, I was far enough in the game where the base splicers weren't spawning anymore, so there was no way for me to get that achievement at that point, which was sad for me. But Paul, what do you think about the research camera?
Well, I liked it because I had a tougher time with the game. John's like, I died 3 or 4 times. I probably died 30 or 40 times throughout the whole game. So I'd turn the camera on and it'd be like, level up, you do 50% more damage. I'd be like, hell yeah. It just made it easier for me.
I guess viewing it, as an optional thing to help you out isn't that bad. But I guess I viewed it as, in order to optimally play this, I have to record everything before I start shooting it.
If I knew there were 4 levels, I would have 4-leveled the big daddies and big sisters for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an easy quick switch on the wheel.
Oh, let's talk about, so you take a little sister from a big daddy and you put it down on a corpse and she sucks the atom out of it. And during this time, you have to protect her, and there's it's a wave-based horde mode, essentially. What'd you guys think about those? For me, I'd set up traps, sit there, shoot a couple guys, and it was never very challenging.
Same. Especially for a lot of those too, there's a turret that you can hack right next to where you need to do it. And then you just sit in the corner and play on your phone until the round's over.
I thought after I got the decoy plasmid, they were so-so, and then the decoy plasmid just made them too easy.
I know we're talking about gameplay and not the plot right now, but what was your favorite plasmid to use?
The electro
Incinerate.
Really? We all have different ones. Mine was the bees.
The what?
Insect
Bees?
form.
Yeah, so the bees, once you 3rd ranked it, bees would go into corpses that died from it, and then if anybody walked by that, bees would come out of it. So I could just be 3 people, and then my bees would do the rest of the work for everybody. I'd just sit there and watch my bees kill everyone. And then they would enter that body, and then more people walk out. It was like a multiplying effect. So for me, I just beat people and kind of hung out.
See, that was my issue, is I never even bought that plasmid, because by the time all those plasmids were available on in the shop, in the gene bank, I had you have 6 plasmids, and it's just annoying to scroll through through that many. I'm I only use these 3. I only use Incinerate, Electrobolt, and Decoy. I don't need more, and I'm tired of having to scroll 8 times to get to them. So I just didn't even buy anymore.
So I guess that is a benefit of the research, right? Is you get more research points based on how many different things you attack them with during that recording.
Yeah.
So it incentivized you to experiment with different guns and different plasmids to get optimal research, which I guess is a good use of it.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that.
I think depending on your playstyle, there were better plasmids for some playstyles versus others.
Yeah, for me, for instance, I never used decoy, not once. And then the security bot one, once you third rank that, you could summon a security bot anywhere.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
I would bees security bot and just sit there and do nothing. Why was Incinerate your favorite?
Just because they de-aggroed when they're on fire.
Yeah.
So I was just running around the whole game, rivet gun headshotting, and I would set them on fire, they'd de-aggro, and I just pop them in the head and go on to the next one.
Oh, why was Electrobolt your favorite?
The crowd control and the extra damage you got to deal if they were electrocuted.
Cool. Okay, so back to the story. We've been on Popper's Drop for a while. So you finally make it up to her room, and she opens the door for you and says, here, take what you need and whatever, essentially, right? And so
Yeah.
I went in there. I chilled for a bit. I took the card. I looked for any audio files that were in there, and then I went on my merry way. And what's interesting, John, I know you killed her. So what's interesting is after that, she radios to you and says, like, she was completely wrong. And Sophia Lamb was lying to her, and she realizes that now. And actually, in the next area, she gives you some resources for letting her live.
What the heck?
She warns you about the ambush, and then doesn't she summon security drones?
Yeah, she gives you security drones so you can leave that area more easily.
Man, you guys went peacekeeper path. I went full destruction path. I told Jay this already, but I haven't told you this, Paul. I walked into that room, and before, like, I forget who's talking to you. Sinclair is like, you can kill her or let her live. As soon as I walked into that room, I shotgunned her in the face. And she's laying on the ground, and the game was not prepared for me to kill her so fast. So she still said her audio bit. She still said her line, even though I killed her. She's on the ground. I was like, is she still alive? I put another shot into her.
Jeez.
Like, killed her too fast. I love this because there wasn't even a thought that entered your head like, oh, maybe I should not kill her. It was just instant, too fast for the game to register. Like,
Yeah.
oh, she's dead.
Obviously, the game is like built so, like, with the expectation that you stand there, you think about it for a second. She says her line, but I killed her so fast her line came out when she was dead on the ground. Yeah. Oops. And apparently she helps you later, so that sucks. It's alright, I still beat the game though.
So Paul, you saved her, right?
Yep.
Did you have any thought like maybe I should just kill her?
I really tried to get into the role playing with this, and I thought about how Delta would feel, and I thought that letting her live was the right thing to do because she was like a mother figure to Eleanor, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And then like she's like, "Oh, you took Eleanor from me." Isn't that the whole thing?
Yeah, that's a fair point. We kind of glossed over what she was saying to us the whole time.
She was like a leader in the community too. Like Drop is like this poor area. It's like working class. It's like a squatter town, a pauper.
And you could tell that she was fed misinformation by Sophia Lamb. So, yeah, I guess that after that moral quandary, for some of us, not so much for other of us, we head back to the train and we go on to the next section, which is Siren Alley.
Yeah. So Siren's Alley is a red light district. So it's home of prostitutes and other lowlifes. But ironically, it's where like the Church of Rapture is, and it's run by Father Simon Wales.
Yeah, so in this section, not a whole lot stands out to me. It was a change of scenery, but in terms of the actual areas you're going through, it was cool that they had that juxtaposition from the church and the red light district being in the same spot. But, and I'll digress here a bit. This is my problem with BioShock as a series, is a lot of the time they're very tongue-in-cheek. They're like, maybe this is just me, but as I'm playing through, I hear in my head the developer saying, you see what we did here? Isn't that profound? And it's like maybe it's just me, but it seems very like it's trying to be more deep than it actually is. And that was my main criticism with BioShock 1, is it ended as like, oh, don't you get it? The big twist. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, it's not that profound, but I don't know. John, what do you think about this area?
I think it's fine. Again, it's not very memorable for me, Siren Alley. I'm literally trying to look up pictures of it on the internet, trying to remember what it even looks like.
There's like these bright alleys with these 2-story buildings. There were some bars.
Yeah, and that's why I see it's like got all the red carpet and whatnot. But I mean, I remember the final boss fight, but again, this area for me wasn't all that memorable.
Yeah, well, Paul, do you have more to say about it, or should we jump to the most memorable part, in my opinion, was the boss fight?
No, let's jump to the boss fight.
So you go into the church, you're fighting Father Wales, right? And he's the spider splicer boss, essentially. And the spider splicers are these guys, they're pretty annoying. They crawl on the ceiling, they throw hooks at you. And the boss fight, I thought, was pretty cool because, I mean, I tackled this boss fight like I did the rest of them, where I just had a bunch of bots. I used my bees, and I didn't really do much. But it was cool. He was crawling around all over the ceiling, and his dialogue lines were interesting in that he was like the head of the church down there, right? But he'd been splicing, so it's the typical BioShock, slant on it, in my opinion. But maybe that's a negative way to look at it. John, what did you think of the boss fight?
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was fun. I liked his mechanics. But just like every other boss fight, they didn't really push you to use different mechanics that you had. So it was just fire or incinerate, shoot him in the head with rivet gun.
They had a bunch of other enemies show up, right? And there were the ones that were sitting in the pews, but some of them were alive, some weren't. Paul, what did you think about the boss fight?
I thought this boss fight was one of the more forgettable boss fights, honestly. He was just like another spider splicer with more health.
That's fair. So anyway, you beat him, right? And you go into the back area there. And what was the objective here? I just remember that the area started flooding.
Yeah, it was to turn the pump station on, right? So you could access the next area. So
this is a character that you didn't get the choice to kill. It forced you to kill him. And at this fight and at the fight with Sinclair later on, I kind of felt that they were taking the easy way out, where it seems strange that they offered us the option at all the other characters in the game, but these ones, you had no choice. You had to kill them. There was no other path. So it comes down, I guess, to that illusion of free will again, but at the same time, is it really as meaningful for the other choices when it takes the choice away from you at these other main characters? But anyway, you head on to the pool section. The guy's name is Pool, but it's Dionysus Park.
Yeah, that's correct.
So at this point in the game, I was like, I gotta be close to the end of it. I made it to Dionysus Park. This is the end, but I was very wrong.
Yeah, you asked me. You're like, so I'm at Dionysus Park. I gotta be close, right? Like, I think you're like 60%, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so John, in this one, you had to deal with all three little sisters. You were forced to.
And honestly, that was one of my least favorite parts of the game because it was a part, and at this point, I was like addicted to the arrow. I was in love with just following this thing around, playing the story, just chilling, and then it's like you have to harvest all three little sisters here. And then I'm like looking for the arrow, but there's no arrow. I'm like, you're telling me I just gotta walk around this place till I find three big daddies now? It's like this is exactly what I was excited to not do when playing this game. Fortunately enough, it wasn't like too big of a deal because no section's that big. But
yeah, it was a quick area.
They did show where the little sisters were on the map. If you open that up.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I was saying.
Nope, never opened that up.
Yeah, that's also in that backspace. I didn't find it till like the very last chapter of the game, but you could see like how far your research had progressed. And it's interesting that they never pointed you towards that stuff. You could play through the whole game with never even seeing those menus.
Yeah, I never saw them.
Yeah. So, what did you think of Dionysus Park?
I liked Dionysus Park's design. I liked the statues. I liked the darkness of it. I thought it was a cool area to be in, at least.
Yeah, I thought there were a lot of good audio diaries in this area. There was one from a kid who had a crush on a little sister, and he left her a present. And you could use your hack tool to get in there and steal the present. And then you found another one that I remember is this guy, Mark Meltzer. You find his audio log. He's this guy from the surface whose daughter was kidnapped and turned into a little sister, and he's gotten on a submarine to Rapture, and he's looking for her, is what this audio log talks about.
Yeah, I like that story too, because it's like a little sub story, and he had like 3 audio logs that like explained what happened to him looking for her, and him eventually finding his daughter, and her being a little sister, and them turning him into a big daddy at the end.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. They had like a little subplot in the audio logs in that area.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about the game. All the little stories that you can find throughout all these areas. I usually don't look for collectibles like you, Jan, but I was trying to find more throughout this game.
Well, let's not beat around the bush here. The BioShock series is like a master class in how to make a game with no characters, only voices and environments, right?
Yeah.
It's top of the tier in environmental storytelling. You walk into a room and you think, holy shit, what happened here? And then you do the looking around, find the audio logs, and look at what's written in blood on the wall and piece it together, right? And I will commend this game for that, is they have that loop down.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about the hack tool and the hacking mini game?
I hacked everything.
Same.
Me too. Here's the thing, though.
Easy.
I got annoyed with it. I was like,
I did too.
Fuck, I have to hack this again. And then if it was like late at night, I was tired, I would fuck up, and then bots would attack me. And I'd waste health kits. I'd have to go buy health kits. And it's just like it seemed like after a while it was unnecessary. And something I liked in Minerva's Den, which I'll allude to here, is they let you in the main game. They in the later parts they still cautioned off how many auto hack darts you could buy, which would have resolved this issue, because you do it a lot in the early game. It's still fun to you, and then you unlock the auto hack darts, and then you don't have to do it anymore, right?
Right.
But they still said you can only buy one at some of these, and that made you need to use them more sparingly, which meant you have to interact with the shitty minigame more.
Yep. Yeah, and like there's all these gene tonics for making it easier. Like gene tonic to slow the thing down so that it's easier to complete the minigame. I'm like, I don't want this minigame to take longer. I'm never buying that gene tonic.
I equipped all those gene tonics because I just did not want to get those wrong and deal with getting damaged or having the bots after me.
Yeah, I hear that.
Well,
Because,
then
that is annoying. And you hit
you
the red spot, and then you have bots on you for 35 seconds, and it's like, well, this sucks.
Yeah, or if you get it right the next time, the bots get called off.
Right,
So
true.
I would panic, try to get it right, and then get it wrong 4 more times, use all my health kits, and then give up on cracking the safe.
Yeah.
I'll come back later.
Hacking the robots, the security bots, was so easy. You only had to get 1 on some of them, and on the the more powerful ones, only 2. So at the end
for
of
most of those,
combat,
just 1.
I would just run in and just jump at them and press X and hack them. And they'd be on my side.
Yep. Is this the area where they have the ice room? Or is that the next area?
I don't remember if that was here or the next area, but I know what you're talking about.
That part annoyed me too, is because I used all my Eve melting ice chunks to get ammo I didn't need to, and
But did you find Schrodinger's cat?
I did. That was a nice Easter egg. But there was this cat underneath this chunk of ice where if you melted it, you put your reticule on it, it was named Schrodinger. So that was a funny Easter egg.
Yeah, I didn't know about that, but that was funny. And then if you hit him with your weapon, he would bleed.
Let's talk about that. Why were there so many dead cats in this game?
I don't know. They're hidden all over the place.
Like, it feels like they made a model for a cat and didn't want it to go to waste, so they just put dead cats everywhere. But
yeah, and they all had names too.
Did you find the? I don't know if you stepped away for a minute, but did you find the one that was named Schrodinger?
No, I didn't.
There's one underneath an ice block. You had to melt to get it, but yeah, and it was kind of funny to melee the frozen people, and they just go poof, disappear, and their hat falls to the ground or whatever. So it was a little funny. So anyway, this section, the boss is just get all the little sisters, right? And then once you get all the little sisters, Pool, you get the option to kill Pool. But what was interesting about this time around is the little sisters gave you a little memory that Eleanor was giving to you of all the bad things that Pool did. So after seeing all these memories, I was thinking, I need to kill this guy. I was almost turned to the point of killing a character in the game when I wanted to go full pacifist.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time I got to him, I was up until the second of walking into that door, I thought I was going to kill him. And then at the last second, I thought, I would think that Delta would rather be more forgiving, even though Eleanor is telling you that this guy's a shitty guy. I didn't think that the Delta I was playing would have killed him, so I let him live. Paul, did you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I would have. I also wanted to kill him, and the only reason I didn't was my pacifist run. But I really wanted to, and when I was thinking through it, I was like, if I was Delta, I'd kill this guy. If I was playing that role, but
they did a good job of making you hate him, I think, with the flashbacks. And John, you just killed him and didn't look back, huh?
No, I didn't kill Pool.
You didn't kill Pool?
Nah, I'm just kidding. I killed Pool, of course. My Delta, as Sinclair said when you had the first little sister, it's kill or be killed. So I was my Delta was a little different than your guys' Delta. My Delta was just trying to get out.
Your Delta was Terminator.
My Delta was the Terminator.
And
Pool was terminated.
I know that we briefly mentioned the drill, and we didn't really talk about the drill. In the first game, you're given a wrench, and that's your melee weapon. What did you guys think about the drill?
I love the drill. It was my main weapon that I use. Later in the game, you get a perk that's like Drill Master, where you can only use the drill, the hacking tool, and the camera when you have that perk equipped. but it
Doesn't it make
buffs
your
your attack.
plasmids more powerful and your drill?
It reduces the amount of Eve you use when you cast plasmids. So like my playstyle was like I'd zap somebody and then I'd go bonk them with my drill. And it would basically one hit the weaker enemies. And anybody else would only take, except for like big daddies and really tough enemies, it would only take like 2 or 3 hits. And then
Two or three hits on the big daddies?
any enemy besides the big daddies and little sisters. I would just drill them though, and they die really fast. And if you have the freezing drill perk, they like turn into ice, and you can just drill them even faster, and they can't attack you.
Yeah.
I barely used the drill in my playthrough. I think as soon as I got the rivet gun, I never used the drill again. But then in Minerva's Den, I started using the drill a lot more. And the drill, I found out the drill was a really good weapon, especially with the drill rush. Like that thing was just nuts.
It has the highest base damage in the game.
So we leave this area, whether you killed Pool or not, and you head on to the scientist area with Gil Alexander, and you do a quick walk outside, right? And you go in, and for some reason you have to find 3 plants and put the plants into the machine. What do you guys think about this? The find 3 plants objective.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of. I don't think it was well fleshed out. I don't think it was well explained. It said you need the plants because they have Adam in them, and they'll get Gil to come out. But Gil was in that tank. Where could he hide? You know, and other than that, as well, is like you have all this Adam on you. Why do you need plants with Adam anyway? You know, so the finding the plants part just was like, pretty meh.
I see what they're doing, where like you had a boss fight, then you fight your way up through levels of a building, then you have another boss fight, and then you have to track down the little sisters, and then you track down the plants. So they're trying to switch up your objectives, so it's not just a boss run, level boss, and I can see how that would get stale. But I gotta think there's a better and more fleshed out way than go grab these plants,
Right. Yeah. Put them in the machine to and that was the thing. Like they said, you gotta put them in the machine, and that'll get Gil out, or get him to expose himself or something, right? But he's in that tank, whether there's plants in there or not. Like, what does it matter if there's plants? With that, what did that do?
Yeah, we should preface this with you're getting these audio logs from this scientist, and it's just a normal guy in the picture, and then when you finally meet him, he's this giant thing in a tank, right? A monster, essentially. And his audio logs are saying that he's too far gone and he wants you to kill him, right? And with the understanding that these audio logs were taken before he turned into a monster. And now that he's a monster, he's about preserving himself, so he obviously doesn't want you to kill him. But he's the mastermind and the atom source of Rapture or whatever. Paul, what did you think about this section?
This section was cool. I was trying to remember if you visit this lab in the first game, because
it's been so long.
Yeah, so this is Fontaine Futuristics, and if you remember, I think Frank Fontaine is really the real bad guy of the first game. So there's a lot of interesting stuff to find in this level. I agree, the plants were dumb. They could have probably thought of something better for you to do. Even if it was just another fetch quest, just something that was more in tune with like the lore of the game, right?
Yeah. So you do all this. The guy's trying to protect himself. So he sends a bunch of bad guys at you, including Big Daddies, in this fight at the end of it. And you beat everyone, and you get the choice. And I'll say once again, this fight for me was just using my bees and sitting there watching everybody freak out as they were attacked by bees. but you get the option at the end. It's just to press a button to kill this monster or not. And the audio logs, he was encouraging you to kill him, right? And this was another, and they did a good job with this, I think, is to try to, you go into the game thinking you're going to play one way and then try to challenge what you want to do. Where this was another one where I was conflicted, like, should I just press the button and end this thing, or should I leave and let it live on?
Yeah, I'm interested in what you guys did in this one. Obviously, like, I've been killing everything, so I killed him, especially when not Eve filled or Adam filled or whatever, not monster version of him telling me kill the monster version of me, you know. So obviously I did, but I'm interested to see what you guys did on this part.
Let him live. My thinking was Delta would be about forgiveness, and Delta's getting out of there anyway, so I didn't know if he'd necessarily care about this guy's request. So I let him live, and of course I was also going for that achievement of let everybody live too, so
there's an achievement.
Colored my perception as well.
I see.
I will say, John, it's a secret achievement, so I didn't know that
really?
it was one. Like, yeah, I let it live, and then as soon as I left this area, achievement for, it's called Savior. It's like, don't kill Poole, that lady,
Holloway,
or Gil,
mm-hmm.
and rescue all the little sisters.
Wow.
And I know, not to bury the lead, but Paul made a different choice, so he didn't get this achievement.
Yeah, I fried him.
So I'm curious, what happens when you press the button?
The tank gets electrified and goes red, and you can just watch it as he
screams.
Yeah, and he screams. You watch him as he, like, his I don't know, body or whatever it is that's inside there, like, slowly shrinks toward the bottom of the tank.
Why did you make the choice to kill him after you saved everything else?
Because I just thought it was like a merciful act.
Gotcha.
Like saving Grace and not killing Poole, those are all like merciful acts, so it just kind of fit what I was going for.
Yeah. So we leave this area and we go to the next area, which is a prison, if I'm not wrong.
You're correct.
So it's a prison, and you go through it. A lot of people are talking to you on the audio log, and essentially this was a part that I really didn't like, is you're forced to kill your buddy, Sinclair, who's been with you the whole time.
Because
what do you guys think about this section of the game?
Yeah, and it's because how was Lamb able to control him? Did she turn him into a big daddy?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I hated it. Like, I kept waiting for there to be some kind of optional objective that you could do in order to free him of her control and save him. And I was just running around the level, like, looking, because I'm like, I don't want to kill Sinclair. He's my boy. And then eventually I was just like, well, if there's a way to save him, I don't know what it is. So I just killed him.
I will say, this is the one part, Paul, where I looked it up online, because I scoured the whole level. I spent way too much time trying to find an alternative. And then finally I looked it up, and they're like, nope, no way around it.
Yeah, I looked it up after. I was curious.
Interesting.
And yeah.
Yeah, I did not have nearly as much trouble. I think having a fully anti-pacifist run had part of it, but also throughout the entire game, they did a good job setting up, or they had that doubt in the back of your mind. Is Sinclair really on your side, or is this just something else that he's doing for money? Because they established him as a character that will do anything for money. So I never had the feeling that Sinclair was my best friend. I always just he was helping me, but that he had an ulterior motive. So having to put him down eventually, I didn't really have as much remorse, I guess, as you guys did.
Honestly, that's how I felt too about him. Like, he really was just out for his own self-interest. And he encouraged you to play that way by harvesting the little sisters and kill or be killed.
That's true. What do you guys think about going around jail cells and seeing people curled up but not attacking you, just hanging out, other people hanging themselves in their cell, and the audio logs in there?
It was messed up.
I don't know. I shot all the people who weren't attacking me too.
Okay, so we are forced, and this is another thing where the game likes to preach like, oh, here's all this choices. Do you want to be a good guy or a bad guy, right? And then they take away your choice at this pivotal moment, which I thought was a little jarring.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I really was just waiting for something to come up where I could save Sinclair.
Right. So then you go on to the finale of the game, right? You finally make it to Eleanor. She's asleep in a big holding tank, right? Her room. And her room was pretty interesting to me once you get in there. And you fight a couple big sisters, and then what happened?
Which was the funnest fight of the whole game.
Lamb comes in and stops Eleanor's heart.
That's and that kills you because of your pair bond, right?
Yep.
But let's pause for a second. John, what makes you call this the most fun fight in the game?
At this point, you're really strong, but having to fight two big sisters at once was the most fun fight in the game because it was the most difficult.
Decoy,
at least.
baby.
You have to use your skills you've acquired up to then.
I guess
right?
the rivet gun doesn't do shit to the big sisters, though.
Oh, it fucking sucks against big sisters.
Drill fucking wreck shit.
But against big sisters and big daddies, for the most part, I'd get out the machine gun and use the armor piercing rounds. Yeah,
armor piercing on the machine gun was a go-to. For those.
The different ammo types was great. That was a big improvement from BioShock 1, I thought. And interestingly, I don't think Infinite had different ammo types for the weapons.
Really? Huh.
I don't know why they took that away. Pretty sure.
So,
yeah.
So she stabs Eleanor, and you go down, and you're thinking, oh, this is the end.
She smothers her with a pillow.
Yeah, with a pillow.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
It's brutal.
And you're helpless, right? You have to watch from behind the glass. And so
your heart is pounding until it stops.
Yeah. Just real quick, the only thing separating you from, I assume, a ton of pressure from the ocean is glass, and you can shoot a spear like probably 6 inches into the glass, like 10 of them. It's just funny to me that it's indestructible. But anyway, you wake up on a bed and you hear Eleanor. And this was a section of the game that I really was not expecting, where you become a little sister.
Yeah, you control one.
I thought this part was really cool.
I thought it was very interesting, exactly, seeing how they view the world. Right, and it's very different than how Rapture is, and they do that stark contrast when you're gathering from the corpses as a little sister. But again, this was an area, and I was trying to 100% this game, find all the secrets. So walking around as a little sister with nothing attacking you was kind of a breath of fresh air, but at the same time, it's like I found myself wishing that section was shorter.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't look for anything and you just ran through it like I did, it was pretty short.
It was pretty short. I just wish there would have been more to do other than just go up to, like, the enemies didn't attack you. You just run up to 2 corpses and extract the atom from them.
And you get the big sister
big
armor.
sister suit. Yeah.
So then, I mean, it is interesting. You're walking right behind Sophia Lamb as she's giving these announcements over the PA that you've been hearing all game. You see her sitting there making an announcement, and it was cool to see that perspective. But you get the armor and you go give it to Eleanor, and Eleanor becomes a big sister. And I was pretty hyped at this point. Like, you get to team up finally and take people out. What'd you guys think about this section of her becoming a big sister? How did she survive, by the way? Was that explained?
I think they just said something like they restarted her heart after the bond was broken.
Yeah, I think they just resuscitated her immediately after. I don't know if they ever explicitly said.
What'd you think about the culmination? You're teamed up with Eleanor. You're a big sister and a big daddy going around messing splicers up.
Cool.
I liked it.
Fantasy.
It was enjoyable. There was no trouble.
Just run through stuff, summon her, and it was so easy.
Oh, you go through and there's all these little sisters in nurseries and you're freeing them, right? And I say freeing with quotation marks because she specifically says, and it's a little break the fourth wall, but she says, I'm going to free these little sisters the same way you showed me how to, right? Which I'm assuming for John's playthrough, she killed them all.
It's kind of disturbing. You're like outside of the area and you're like looking into like that area where there's just a bunch of little sisters in their beds and she's just going bed by bed just killing each one. It's like, I taught you that
playthrough.
Yeah, so she freed them all. So I'm curious because we freed them and then they helped us melt the thing that would let us return to the surface. What did they do when you kill them all? What's the purpose? The purpose for freeing them was to have them help us.
I had to go to like a reactor room and melt turn the, what do you call it? The AC off or whatever. But you guys just had it?
Den.
Oh, am I?
Doesn't she walk into the pool of water?
Oh, yeah. She walks into there and she just by herself.
Right?
Yeah, you're right. She melts it all herself.
Oh. Yeah, for us it's her and like a bunch of those sisters melting it together.
Gotcha. No, she has all their power, so she just does it all herself.
As we horde mode defender, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine. We melt the thing and we're finally going to get out of the rapture and escape, right? And you're walking down the hallway and there's a big explosion and you're not sure if Eleanor makes it or not, right? And so this is the point where Paul and I got a different cutscene than you, John. In our cutscene, Sophia Lamb is drowning inside the elevator, and Eleanor swims up to her and gives her an oxygen mask and lets her live.
My cutscene, Sophia Lamb is drowning in the elevator, and she's swimming to like an air bubble at the top, and Eleanor grabs her leg and pulls her back down.
Stark contrast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we get up to the surface, and in our cutscene, we're dying, and Eleanor uses the syringe thing and takes from us, and she says, even though you're dying, I'm going to carry you with me wherever I go as we start a new life for me and all the little sisters on the surface.
Yeah, she says that you will be her conscience.
Right.
Wow, I'm surprised. Because in my cutscene, I'm dying, and she takes my atom and goes, "You'll always be with me," and runs away. But I assumed on your guys' cutscene you'd live. Yeah, to wreak havoc on the world, like to always look out for myself and be whatever puts me the furthest ahead and stuff like that. You know, she's about to go crazy on the world, but I'm surprised that you guys died. I thought that she would save you at the end.
I looked up all the endings.
Yeah, so another thing we should say is there's a little sister that drops a doll of the Big Daddy into the water for us, and then it's like a bright sunny day, and there's a beautiful sunrise or sunset, and all the little sisters are there like smiling, and you die, right? But I looked up the endings as well, Paul, and in John's, like, they drop the Big Daddy stuffed animal into the water, and all the corpses float up, right?
Float up, yeah. And thunderstorm, and
it's interesting that she harvests you in both the good and the bad ending, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Just for different reasons.
So, John, when I looked it up, there's 4 different endings. So there's 2 endings, both evil and good, where you survive.
Huh. How do you get those?
It's based on a choice you make. Do you remember what choice it was, Paul?
I thought you die in all of the endings.
Oh, there's one where you survive. 2 of them. And it might be the in-between ending where you save and harvest. But essentially it's just a coloring of the other 2 endings, except for she helps you up. And
Gotcha.
It's all based on what you did with Little Sisters and what you did with the bosses and neutral characters.
It's a little bit, I thought, when I watched the cutscenes of all of them, I thought that the one where you live is worse than the ones where you die, because it just is more resolved. When you die and she says, "Oh, I'll take you with me, you'll be my conscience." When you live, it doesn't wrap up as well.
Like, what are you supposed to do? You're a big daddy now. You're still a big daddy. What the hell are you gonna do?
You're Big Daddy, all you can say is
So that's the whole game. I guess now's the... Did we not touch on anything you guys want to touch on if you're looking at your notes? I'll talk about another bug I got where it would play like the same 10 seconds of violin that just kept building on itself over and over and over again. And it got so annoying I had to reset my console to get it to stop. It was awful because it's like nothing's happening. I'm walking around and like this intense violin loop is playing.
I did think that was some funny stuff like in the game where you would, like I said, like the fights weren't long enough, so like there'd be this intense musical section where the music is just like this is a big fight, and then you kill everyone and the music goes for another minute. You're like, hey, everyone's been dead, like why are you still going?
Yeah, it was a little bit off with that. I wanted to ask you guys how you feel about, I know, John, you kind of crit pathed this game, but for me, I spent hours and hours searching for those collectibles, and it got really annoying to me, because every time I walked out of a room and then back into a room, there'd be another couple splicers there. Just like, they would respawn so fast. Like, as soon as I left and turned my head the other way, they'd be back there, and it just got annoying just trying to find everything and always having to... I already cleared this room. Why is there somebody that's spawning in this room with no other entrances to it? You know?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Paul?
I kind of like that they respawn just because late in the game it was just ammo and money bags.
Yeah, free ammo, I guess. Did you experience that at all, John? Or not really?
I did, but not too much. Not to your extent at all, where I was leaving a room and then turning around and there'd be splicers there. But definitely like when you go to like a dead end hallway and then you come back through and there's splicers in the room that you were just in a couple minutes ago. Like, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But I didn't really have any, like, it didn't happen to me so much where I had any reservations about it.
It's kind of funny because there's only like 4 or 5 voices for the random splicers. It's like 2 guys and 2 chicks.
Like, I already killed this guy. So there was another bug I had where I found an audio log and it repeated and played over itself. And then this other separate bug where it ended and then started again from the beginning, so I had to listen to it twice. What did you guys think about the combination answers being a sticky note right by the combination when you open up the combination?
Hated that. Or not hated it, but I thought it was too... There's a section in Minerva's Den which it really it played out for me was like there was an audio log, and next to audio log was a code lock, and in the audio log it's like there's gonna be I won't say the code here, but go look at the bookshelf at the groups of books, and the code is obvious. So I went over to the bookshelf. I figured out the code because it was obvious, and I was gonna go plug it into the code lock, and I'm literally thinking to myself, I hope it's not. I hope the code isn't just on a sticky note next to it, because this is such an easy puzzle. Like, people should be able to do this, you know? But then it was there. I'm like, so you don't even have to like try. You just click on any code and it gives it to you. Which, I mean, I guess some people don't have the patience to figure it out, but
you had to walk over by the bookshelf or it wouldn't show up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. At least there's that.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like it's babyifying. That's a adjective to.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
They aren't brain busters. Like,
right.
You can find them. Like the one in the main game where you look through a hole in the wall and the numbers written in blood. Yeah. And then to get back to that section, you just have to put in that number, but it tells you the number because you looked through that hole. It's just like, it takes away the connecting the dots, which I thought, I mean, ease of access, it was fine, but it wasn't very satisfying to enter those rooms. You didn't feel like you figured something out. You're just like, oh.
No.
I hit the right trigger.
Yeah.
So, I want to bring up again my hot take at the beginning that I think this is the best game in the series is, you know, even with all these bugs and these crashes and everything, I thought the first game, which is the one everybody says is the best, was, like I said, too tongue-in-cheek, too pretentious, like, oh, you get it, right? Would you kindly, you know? And this one I thought was more nuanced than the first or the third one in its presentation and story. And as John was saying, it did a good job of keeping you in the action. I realized some of my nitpicks were about, you know, were solely to me when I wanted to find all the audio logs and wanted to get all the achievements. I brought some of that stuff on myself, some of that issue, but I feel like if I would have just ran through the critical path, this was a fun game from beginning to end.
Yeah, that's where I am for sure. Like, if you just follow the arrow from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, very enjoyable. I had few complaints.
So, I thought it was a good pick. I thought it was worthwhile. I'm happy that I finally played through it and beat it. I don't feel like I wasted my time, and I thought that all in all, pound for pound, even it being an old game, and some of those bugs should be inexcusable on a remastered version on the next-gen console, it was still pound for pound worthwhile.
Oh, that's interesting. Actually, you and Paul played it on the 1X, right?
The Series X, yeah.
Series X. Oh, okay. But still, like, when did the remaster come out?
Oh, it came out a couple years ago, 2 or 3.
Okay. But yeah, still for me, like, my biggest complaint is probably the autosave system.
Yeah.
Because it has an autosave system, and that's where it kind of, like, messed me up, was it has an autosave system, but only autosaves in between each area, which is, it only autosaves every, like, hour and a half to 2 hours of gameplay. So the save system, like, if you're going to manually save, it's very fast, doesn't, like, not too big of a deal if you have to save yourself, but because it has an autosave system, at the beginning of the game, I was like, oh, this game autosaves. I'm not going to need to worry about saving. And the first day I was playing it, I was about to like do the last thing I was going to do for the day and log off. Game crashed. I'm like, whatever. Went to bed, got on the next day, and I was an hour and a half back from where I was the day before. So it's like, it has an autosave system, but it doesn't save as much as you would think it would for a game that was remastered only a couple of years ago, you know?
Right. Yeah, you'd think that would be pretty base level autosave more frequently. It wouldn't be that hard for them to implement. But, I mean, it's some of the charm of it being an older game. Oh, yeah, I have to go and manually save. It's annoying, but there's a little bit of charm there.
True. Yeah.
Another note I'll say about playing it on the next-gen console is this thing loaded almost too fast. Like, in between sections, you go to the loading screen, and it'd say press A, and I'd press A, and it loaded too fast. You could tell that it needed some time to autosave. Because you'd press A, and then you'd wait another 30 seconds for it to autosave, even though it's already loaded.
Yeah. Interesting.
And then another point I wanted to bring up, what did you guys think about the level structure? It was very clear, area, next level, area, next level. What did you guys think about that setup, Paul?
I liked it. I always like the arrow, you always know where to go. There's always groups of enemies. I thought the variety of enemies was good, and the placement. Like, I never felt overwhelmed by the number of enemies attacking me, and using the environment was cool to fight them too. Like you talked about the security plasmid, so they just give you lots of tools to make it through these fights. Dug it.
Yeah. John, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I never got lost. And a game that looks like this, if the map is too big or the area is too big, or like a game especially like this where it's like dark in a lot of sections, I feel like it would be easy to get lost. And I liked the structure just because, yeah, you always had the arrow for the most part. Sections weren't too big, and I don't like getting lost, and never did in this game, which is good for me.
Yeah, I agree. It takes some fun out of it when you just have to figure out where to go.
Have I been here? Have I been to this section before? You know?
Right.
Like that kind of thing.
Well, so there's something fun. Do you guys have any more notes you want to bring out about the main game?
No, I don't.
Oh, I was just going to give my opinion on where this ranks in the BioShock series for me.
Yeah.
I like it better than Infinite, but 1 is still my favorite. I think that 2 improves on the gameplay of the original game in every way. The guns just feel better to shoot. The different ammo types are cool. Plasmid stuff is good. I felt like the story of 1, maybe it's the nostalgia too, because I played 1 years ago and I never played 2 until now, but that twist, would you kindly... I did like all of the references in the audio logs to the first game in this one. I thought it was like a nice deep dive into the BioShock world.
That is a good factor to bring into it, because I'm saying that BioShock 2 is the best in the series, but obviously my vision is clouded by being a stupid kid playing through the first one and just like getting lost and, not being as smart as I am now. Just, yeah, the twist in 1 is good, and I always bring up that there's a specific tone to BioShock that's like, do you get it? This is where society's going. And it's like, and I do think that can be exhausting at times, and that's why I like that this BioShock 2 seemed to be a more down-to-earth take. But that perception could be clouded by over a decade of memory loss.
BioShock is kind of shitty in general because Andrew Ryan is like this ultra free market guy who hates the government. Like, he calls governments and bureaucracies parasites, and he created Rapture to get away from all of that. And there's only one law in Rapture that you can't reveal Rapture to the surface. And then it all goes to hell.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like...
It's very much a political satire, and I think at some points that's a major strength of the series, but at other points it's a detriment because it takes itself so seriously that it crumbles underneath it at some points.
Yeah, maybe that's by design.
Yeah, true. So, since Paul and I both played on Xbox, they had these fun little trackers. So this is taking into account all of Minerva's Den too. But I spent a total of 1 day and 9 minutes in the game. So 24 hours, 9 minutes. Paul spent 14 hours and 18 minutes for the whole thing. I looked after we both beat the main game, and Paul had spent 10 hours, and I had spent 18 hours. And so I don't know how much of that was me like pausing it and going away and doing whatever, but I certainly tried to be thorough in it. I had 166 perfect hacks. Paul had 120.
Oh, it has all that. Interesting.
I had 1,840 Atom gathered. Paul had 2,080. I had 160 special ammo kills, and Paul had 220. So it's kind of interesting how he has higher numbers than me in some, even though I spent a lot more time in the game than he did.
Yeah.
Killing everything with bees.
Yeah, that's true. So, anyway, I just think it's cool when we play on Xbox and they have these metrics you can compare yourself to your friends.
Yeah. All I have is playtime. I have
How
19
much?
hours total.
Oh, so we have a good cross section.
Yep.
Paul,
I know
you like flew through it, man.
Yeah, Paul flew. I know for... Yeah. For
That's
the main
true.
story, I was at like 13 and a half hours. And I don't think Minerva's Den took me 6.5. I'm pretty sure... Well, I mean, I know for a fact it didn't because you guys were like... yesterday, you're like, can you play through Minerva's Den? And like 3 hours later, I had it done. So I think I must have sat on like like with it paused. Oh, I did. I played through like the first half of Minerva's Den. I paused it. I watched some shows, and then I came back to it.
I got like
That's
2
what
hours
happened.
of Protector trials in that playtime too.
Really?
Oh, you tried those?
Yeah, I played the first couple locations.
How was that?
Pretty boring.
Huh?
What do you
It's
do?
just-
Just protect a sister?
It's all the stuff that you skipped, John. Yeah, the little sisters just gather Adam, and it's just the horde mode.
Gotcha.
It's pretty easy. You figure out. I mean, I didn't do any like the high level ones, but I think those couldn't be that much harder.
Well, cool. That concludes our spoiler mode Backlog Club Giants of Backlog cast for the BioShock 2 main game. Do you guys want to roll on to the Minerva's Den?
Yeah.
I'd love that.
We can roll through Minerva's Den.
Okay, so what is everybody's hot take on Minerva's Den?
The Lancer Big Daddies and the ion laser weapon aren't that cool.
John?
Minerva's Den doesn't need to exist, but it is fun.
I listened to a lot of podcasts, and on one of them years ago, they ranted and raved about how Minerva's Den was the best part of all of BioShock. And after playing through it, I'm not sure I agree, but my hot take on this is, it's a BioShock game. So I'm going into it thinking, okay, this is going to be very heavy-handed political. Okay, also, there's going to be a big twist. So the big twist at the end that you're supposed to be like, oh my god, I just kind
For
of
you, it was completely telegraphed.
I just kind of smirked. It was like, okay, and ended it. So it took away of it, and I understand that that's my own preconception going into it, taking away from it. But Yeah, that's my hot take. So the story begins, and you're a different Big Daddy. You're Sigma,
Subject Sigma.
Subject Sigma, and you're being guided into this place called Minerva's Den by the voice of C.M. Porter. And essentially, he was a scientist who was working on artificial intelligence, and he wants you to get the blueprints of the Thinker, their artificial intelligence, and make it to the surface with them so that the Thinker artificial intelligence can be brought to the surface. So essentially, it's more of the same base game. That's what disappointed me. You go in, and it's just a new area. There's 3 little sisters you have to save or harvest again, and your main antagonist is this Wall guy who was a coworker of the Porter guy you're trying to help out, and he's trying to stop you. So he's got a seemingly unending amount of scientist splicers that are trying to thwart your attempts of making it to the Thinker. So at the beginning of this game, of this DLC, what did you guys think?
At the very beginning, I was extremely unimpressed. I think it was, like, if I was playing it a year after I had played BioShock 2, maybe I would have enjoyed it, like, immediately. But when I first started playing it, I was like, I just played through this game. I don't want to jump back into it, you know?
I liked it because like the coolest thing that we've been talking about is like the environment, the world of BioShock, and it's just more of that. So it's nice to play as a new character and learn about stuff that you didn't learn about in the first 2 games.
I will say that if the main game is a master's class on environmental storytelling, like, this is one step up from there. They really, I could tell, since it was a more smaller condensed package, they really gave every environment, they went through every detail to make it a realized area.
Mm-hmm.
What were you going to say, John?
I was just saying, for me, it felt unneeded. It felt like we had already played through BioShock 2, and this was another area of BioShock 2, but if it doesn't relate to the game we just played, it's just something they made up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for me, I had, we did just played through the full main game, and I guess I just wasn't in the mood to play it again.
Right. There's something to be said about wrapping up a game, seeing end credits, and putting it behind you. I guess to jump back in right away, this is something that may have benefited from a longer time gap in between.
Yeah, that kind of gets into my, I don't know if it's even really a hot take, but just the stuff they added, gameplay-wise, wasn't anything special. Even, like, the weapons, the enemies, the Lancer Big Daddies, and the plasmids, the gravity well, like, not really anything that you missed in the main game.
I will say I really love the gravity well, because I had just, here's an example, I had just freed 3 little sisters, and so the big sister starts making her bird noises or whatever, and I know she's coming. So I just park myself underneath a security camera. It's like in a hallway, so I set up a bunch of spear traps, and I set up a bunch of rivet traps, and I have 2 bots with me, and all the corpses in the area have beehives in them, right? And so she like comes into the room but doesn't come in front of the security camera. So I throw a gravity well on the ground, and it sucks her in with all the traps, and it just about one-shots her. It was hilarious. So, I don't know. That kind of... And they do this in System Shock and even Prey. These kind of... Where games, immersive sim games are called, where they give you a bunch of tools that interact with each other and the environment in special ways and say, go for it. And it's to you to see like how I can use these to interact. I thought that part, the gravity well and using plasmids for something other than combat, was an interesting addition.
I used the gravity well just like I used the decoy, but I don't think I ever used it with traps.
Yeah,
I never used the gravity well.
It's funny to see her go flying through 3 spear electric traps. Okay, so back to the story. You get at some point you get the reveal of CM Porter is trying to turn this artificial intelligence into his late wife, and I thought specifically the audio log where he describes what happened in World War II, where they were bombed and all that was left of her was ashes. That kind of hit me. That I thought he performed it really well, the voice actor, and you know that got me in the feels a little bit.
Yeah. Did you see the picture of her tombstone?
You're talking at the end of the game? Or in his room?
Yeah, near the end in his office. So I saw on her tombstone it was like 1917 to 1940.
Yeah, she was only 23.
Yeah, so our boy, but Winston Churchill had like written him like a note of condolence. So I figure our boy Charles Milton must have robbed the cradle.
Okay.
I had that in my notes. Not really plot related.
I didn't realize that detail. Good point, Paul.
I noticed her age, but I just assumed she died a long time ago.
Did it say what year Minerva's Den takes place?
No. At least I didn't see it.
I didn't catch it either if it did.
I did notice in Minerva's Den, the spear gun felt 1,000 times better. I don't know what they tweaked, if it was reload time or...
It was the reload. Yeah, they changed it.
It became an actual usable weapon.
I used it in Minerva's Den.
I didn't use it.
It still was the worst gun, but it was usable.
Yeah. So I like that change. So anyway, they're trying to convince you that this Porter guy is actually just trying to reunite with his wife through an artificial intelligence that he make, and then you go through the audio logs, which I thought were all very well voiced, and you find out that he was in fact trying to do that, and he succeeded, and then tried to get the Thinker to stop because he changed his mind, or it wasn't what he expected, and that's where you kind of leave off with CM Porter. But the big twist, shocking that there'd be a big twist in a BioShock game.
Who would have thought?
You are indeed CM Porter as a Big Daddy. You got turned into a Big Daddy, and the voices you've been hearing that you thought were CM Porter yourself were actually the Thinker mimicking your voice and feeding you the instructions to try to have some self-preservation. What do you guys think of the twist?
So for me, I felt really dumb after it happened because they kind of feed it to you that CM Porter got turned into a Big Daddy a long time ago, and that the audio logs are probably not him. They kind of feed it to you like a section before the big twist reveal. But the big twist reveal happens, and I'm like, wait, I think I knew that CM Porter was turned into a Big Daddy, but I didn't realize that the Big Daddy I'm currently playing was CM Porter. Why did I not think of that? So it made me feel dumb.
Oh, what are your thoughts on the twist?
I thought it was cool. You listen to that audio log near the end of the game where he says that Ryan's secret police are coming for him and tasks the Thinker with its last problem, finding a way to escape Rapture.
Yep.
And it's pretty neat, I thought.
Set it up well. I think it was executed well, but at that point, I was like, "Here it comes!"
Yeah, you knew it was coming for sure. You knew something.
So
I kind of liked it actually better than like the main game. Like, 'cause the whole time I was wondering, like, okay, who is Subject Delta?
You mean Sigma?
No, in the main game, like I was wondering, like, oh, who is Subject Delta? And then I guess he's just like a deep sea diver who was captured and turned into a Big Daddy.
Yeah, what's your name? Johnny.
Yeah.
Johnny Surface.
Topside or something.
Johnny Topside. That's it.
So
the only person to ever find Rapture on their own.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. Like, oh, I know who I'm playing as. I know who Subject Sigma is. He's Charles Milton Porter.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So, what do you guys think of the climactic battle then?
It was good but easy again.
Yeah, the Lancer Big Daddies, I thought were easier than the base game.
Mm-hmm.
The most advanced Big Daddies ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because that gun sucked. And their flash attack, all you had to do is look away.
Yep.
I didn't even realize they had a flash attack. I would just bee them, and then they would try to fight off the bees, and then they'd go down. So I'm assuming, Paul, did you save all the little sisters?
I did, yeah.
And John, did you harvest them?
Nope. I saved them.
Really?
I changed up my playstyle completely in Minerva's Den. Like I was saying in the main game, I mained the rivet gun with Incinerate as my main damage, and then in Minerva's Den, I mained the shotgun with Electrobolt, and I saved all the little sisters.
So I guess we won't know if there's a separate ending. But did you interact with them all, or did you leave some?
I left some. I only saved there were 4, right? I think I saved 3.
There were 6, I thought.
Oh, maybe I saved 4 out of the 6. I definitely did not save them all.
What about you, Paul? Did you do them all?
Yeah, I did them all, and I saved them all.
I did them all too, but it felt more like a chore than something I actually needed or wanted to do.
Yeah, it was. If you guys thought that doing it in the main game was unnecessary, I think it was even more unnecessary in Minerva's Den.
What I really needed was the level 3 insect power, and then I was rolling again. So, the end of the game, right, the climatic battle, you fight a lot of Lancer Big Daddies. And you escape with Tenenbaum, right, which that's a cool crossover from the main story to this one. And she turns you into not a Big Daddy anymore. You make it to the surface, you visit your wife's grave, you apologize, for trying to recreate her, and it seems like CM Porter or Subject Sigma just moves on with his life.
Goes on to do good.
You know, I wonder, and it's been a long time since I played Infinite, but I wonder if there's any reference to him in the next game, in an audio log or something. But I guess
Maybe.
some of the notes I had on Minerva's Den, for some reason, and again I'm playing on the next-gen console, there was crazy popping in Minerva's Den that wasn't in the main game. I'd walk up to something and the textures wouldn't be loaded till like 30 seconds later, and then pop.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
And
that didn't happen on PC.
It seems strange to me that would happen in the DLC and not the main game, and especially on, super hardware. But and I got really annoyed at the beginning of this one because it told us the result of every hack again.
Oh, dude,
stuck
yeah.
around for way too long.
It was basically the whole time. Like, every single time you hack something, it said successful hack. You had to close out the message.
This means the door opened. It's like, yeah, I got it. I played the game. I guess, I mean, to play devil's advocate and vouch for the developers, you could start up BioShock 2, not play the main game, and just jump right into Minerva's Den, play the 4 hours, and that'll be your whole experience. And I think it can hold up as a standalone thing. And maybe it would be even... If we would have played Minerva's Den first, I wonder how our perceptions would have changed of the main game.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's an interesting
thought. Even with that, it's called the hack tool. You don't need a message to come up after you do it successfully that says you hacked this. It's like, I know. I used the hack tool. I know I hacked it.
Yeah. And the something I really liked that they did in Minerva's Den is you could just buy auto hack darts. As many as you want. So every time I'd max out on that and just shoot everything, hack it instantly, and not have to do the mini game. Which I do think the mini game for hacking in BioShock 2 was way better than in BioShock 1. In BioShock 1, John, it was so dumb. There was like pipes you had to put in to connect one side of the circuit to the other side of the circuit, and you had like pipes you could put, and meanwhile there was a bar that was going through the pipes, and if it made it to the end before you put in a pipe to carry on the circuit, you would lose. And that took like minutes at a time to do. And so this was an upgrade to that for sure. But there's a point when you just don't want to hack stuff anymore.
Right.
The other main note I had about Minerva's Den is that the spider splicers in Minerva's Den, for some reason, they got a new voice actor, and it sounded so stupid to hear them. They sounded so dumb. Like, I was chuckling because they all had the same voice, and it was high pitched, and they're like jumping down, and it really like shocked me, pulled me out of it because I was so used to the other spider splicers from the main game.
I didn't notice that.
I am trying to think right now. I don't even remember voices from the people. From the splicers.
I remember all of their voices because there's only 4 or 5.
I don't remember them talking at all.
All of the brute splicers had the same voice.
Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, I remember the brute splicers. All right, so they probably did talk. I'm like trying to think. Did PC version have splicer voices? I think it did.
It did. I can confirm.
Did you guys have any further notes about Minerva's Den?
For the only included extra like new weapon, the ion laser is weak and dumb. Except for the blast mode. The blast mode, like you would think an ion laser had, where you hold it down, then you charge it up, and then you shoot. That was fun. I enjoyed that. But also, it took like 50 ammo at a time, so you could only do it like 5 times before you're out of ammo.
I thought it did no
and
damage.
It limited you to only 200 of that ammo. So
Yeah.
it's like
4 times, I guess, yeah.
you use it, and then you're like, okay, I guess I'm done using that gun for a long time. So,
Right, and like that was the setting, that was the ammo type that was actually fun to use on it.
yeah.
I thought I was underwhelmed by the damage that the blast mode did.
Yeah.
But the fire mode was pretty pointless because you have a plasmid that does that. So, yeah.
I thought it
So
was
all in
just a
all,
machine gun.
what'd you got? What was your closing thoughts on Minerva's Den as a DLC or a standalone BioShock experience?
Like I said at the beginning, when I was playing Minerva's Den, it felt unneeded. By the end, I enjoyed it. I thought it was actually a fun DLC. But I mean, like we said, a little more time between playing through the main game and playing through the DLC could have probably increased my view on it.
Yeah. Paul?
I liked it. It was a good DLC. More of the BioShock world. Interesting story. Nothing really new introduced, but solid for $10.
Yeah, for sure. So, for the whole BioShock 2, well, I guess first I should say, at this point in the podcast, we would typically take some community emails and questions and talk about them now, since this is being our first episode and not setting that up yet. We'll have them in future episodes. But as a closing, guys, what would you rate the entire BioShock 2 game as?
I would rate it a 9 out of 10.
I'd probably give it. It's tough seeing how we're just starting this, and I'm not super accustomed to putting number ratings on stuff, but I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm with John here. I think it's a solid game. I enjoyed my time with it. Some of the bugs and systems are inexcusable, so I too would give it a 8 out of 10.
You think it's better than BioShock 1?
Yes.
Oh, BioShock 1 is a 10 out of 10 for me. It's one of my favorite games ever, so.
Well, the beautiful thing about this Giants of Backlog game club is we could play BioShock 1 in the future if we decided to, or if the community wanted it. So
Going back to BioShock 1 would be tough after playing 2, because I think 2 feels so much better to play.
Did they remaster BioShock 1?
They did, but it's just like a graphical remaster.
Gotcha. I should throw it on my wish list just so that when it goes on sale I can snag it.
So in closing, anything you guys want to say?
Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed hanging out with us, and let us know what you think. You can email us at